Anatomy can be daunting, whether you're new to art or just new to drawing people. But if you can draw some basic shapes like these, then you can definitely improve your anatomy drawing skills. So there are basically two methods that I use when I'm studying anatomy. There's gesture drawing and form studies. Gesture drawing is a much looser, sketchier style where I'm basically just trying to quickly get the basic shapes that the figure creates and get a sense of movement. A form study is much more in depth, and it's an untimed study where I'm breaking down the shapes and the forms that lie underneath and trying to understand the structure. Understanding the foundation that makes up these shapes is really helpful for creating your own poses because you've got a stronger understanding and you can use your imagination to kind of turn the form however you want. So let's start with gesture drawing. This is the more fun option to me personally, and I think it has a lot of benefits. If you're newer to drawing figures, this exercise will really help you build your confidence, and it'll also get you used to learning how to get ideas and shapes down quickly, so you kind of get the feeling or emotion of movement rather than just trying to get it perfect. To do a gesture drawing, you're going to grab a ton of references. You can also just use the website Line of Action. This is a free resource that you can use to throw up references and set a timer so that you can get the gesture down quickly. But again, you can also just pick your own references if there are specific poses that you want to learn how to do. And the point of gesture drawing is not to be perfect, it's to get basically the feeling or the essence of the pose down quickly. So you're trying to train your brain and eyes to kind of notice how the body moves. You'll start learning how body parts naturally move, the range of motion. And I like to do these gesture drawings to kind of warm up my hands in practice. And I'll just do 30-second sessions and then 60-second sessions. I think a good thing of doing these exercises is it teaches you to not worry about the details, especially the 30-second ones, because you just don't have time. Ain't nobody got time for it. And like I said, this really helps with building confidence when you're drawing. So if you're used to just drawing figures like standing straight up or not really moving much, gesture drawing can really help create more dynamic poses in your art. And then the other type of drawing exercise that I do to practice anatomy is form or structure studies. These are untimed studies where I'm basically just trying to break down the human body into super basic shapes and see how it works. You'll notice that my art style is much more simplistic. It's not as realistic, but I think it's important to learn how the body looks realistically so that you can simplify it later. I'll show you what I mean in a second, but basically you are learning, once you have an idea of how it should look, you can then simplify and still make sure that it's portrayed accurately. So it's kind of like the old saying that you kind of have to know the rules before you break them. So I think it's important to know how things look realistically before you start trying to put them in a cartoon style. I think that these kind of studies can be super overwhelming, especially if you're new to drawing anatomy. I think rather than trying to do these studies on the entire human body as a whole, when you're just starting out, I think it's much more beneficial and easier to break it down into sections that you can study. So hands, for example, if you draw your characters with their hands in pockets or behind their back so that you don't have to face your fears of drawing hands, then I think it's time to start doing some studies of them. So you can find references of hands on Google or Pinterest and then analyze the photo. So in this example that I'm showing, I can see that the relationship of the tops of the fingers kind of makes a curved line like this. I can also see that where the top of the thumb is in relation to the rest of the hand. So once I start drawing it realistically and doing a study of it, I'm gonna keep those things in mind as I'm working. And then to make it easier on ourselves, we're first going to find just simple shapes that the hand is made up of, like rectangles for the fingers, for example, or we can make this shape for the palm. I'll actually go back in and then do a second layer on top of these basic shapes, and that's where we'll actually draw out the hand. But because we've done these super simple shapes to start with. We've got our foundation down, and that makes it much easier to actually draw the hand. And then once I've done a realistic version of the hand, I want to look at that and use that to break it down even more and simplify it. So I think it's helpful to know how to do it realistically first, just so that way you have a very good understanding of how it should look and how it should feel. I think the more you do these kind of studies, you'll be able to get better about drawing for the hand, for example, in like different angles, because you have a better understanding of the structure underneath it and how it works. And that's what these exercises are really helpful for. To be honest, the more you practice anatomy, the better that you'll get. There's no real formula for getting good quickly, other than just drawing as much as you can. So doing studies and exercises like these will improve your anatomy skills and help you get to your artistic goals quicker. So I hope you guys found this video helpful. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.